Hello there friends, it's Ashley here from the Loopy Lamb and theloopylamb.com, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make my Wander Often baby blanket. Now, the written version of this blanket pattern is available on my blog, theloopylamb.com, and I've also graded this blanket to be available in 13 different sizes. So if you are wanting to make this blanket in one of those different sizes, it goes from stroller size up to king size blanket. You can find those patterns available in my Ravelry and Etsy shops. Now, to follow along with today's tutorial, you're going to need a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle, and a 5.5 millimeter or I crochet hook. I'm using this gorgeous Furls Candy Shop crochet hook from Furls Crochet, and I'm using their Furls Crochet's Wander yarn. And you're going to need 4 different colors to get the look that we're looking for in this blanket. So the original blanket I used a gray, white, black, and a darker blue color. But for today, we're going to be using these colors. So from left to right, I'm using the colors Mist, Peninsula, Tundra, and Surf. And you're going to need approximately 1,200 yards to complete the baby blanket size, or 3 skeins of each of these colors. Now, this baby blanket is going to be approximately 32 inches wide by 41.5 inches long, and the gauge that we're going to need is 15 stitches by 12 rows equals 4 inches wide, or 4 inches squares, I should say. Now, gauge is not critical for this project, but it will affect the size of your blanket and therefore the amount of yarn that's required. So I'm going to clean up my workspace and we're going to get started on working on our Wander Often blanket. To start our blanket, we're going to start with our first color, and for me, I'm using the color Mist, and we're going to start with a chain of 117. So if you'd like to pause your video and do a chain of 117, come back to me when you're ready to start row 1, and I will be doing a smaller version of the blanket here, but the instructions will remain the same for you. So I have my completed chain and I'm ready to start with row 1. And to do that, I'm going to work into the second chain from the hook. So we never work into that first chain. We're going to start in this second, and we're going to insert our hook into that second chain, yarn over hook, pull up a loop. You should have 2 loops on your hook. Then you're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops. And that's your single crochet completed. Now we're going to single crochet into each of the next 3 chains. Oops. So there's 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to place a double crochet into each of the next 4 chains. To do your double crochet, you're going to yarn over hook and insert your hook into the next chain, yarn over and pull up a loop. You should have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over, pull through 2 loops. You should have 2 loops remaining, and you'll yarn over and pull through 2 loops again. And that's your completed double crochet. And we're going to do that again 3 more times. So again, yarn over, insert into the next hook, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. All right, and 2 more. So now that we have completed our 4 double crochets, we're going to single crochet into each of the next 4 chains. Now that we have our 4 single crochets completed, we're going to do 4 double crochets. So work 1 double crochet into each of the next 4 chains. And now we're going to single crochet into the next 4 chains. And we're going to repeat this pattern of 4 double crochets followed by 4 single crochets all the way across our chain. So if you'd like to pause your video and repeat the 4 double crochets followed by 4 single crochets until the end of your chain, you can come back to me when you're ready to start with row 2. So I have finished my row 1 and I'm getting ready to start with row 2. At the end of row 1, you should have 116 stitches. Now for row 2, we're going to yarn over and pull through that loop to create a chain 1, and we're going to turn our work. And we're going to do row 2 in a very similar way that we did with row 1. We're going to single crochet into each of the first 4 stitches. So into that last stitch, we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through 2. There's your single, and then we're going to do that 3 more times. And now we're going to double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. And now we're going to single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches, and then we will double crochet into the following 4 stitches. And we're going to repeat this pattern across 4 single crochets followed by 4 double crochets until there are 4 stitches remaining. When you get to those last 4 stitches, you're going to single crochet into each of those stitches. So what you're essentially doing for this row is you're going to double crochet in the double crochets, in the top of the double crochets, I should say, from the previous row, and then you'll single crochet in the top of the single crochets from the previous row. Gosh, say that 4 or 5 times fast. And I just want to turn this around and show you what we're doing here is creating that wave pattern that we see in our stitches. And this blanket doesn't really need a border because these stitches create their own border, and it has a really nice scalloped edge on the bottom. So I really like this stitch a lot, and it's probably why I spent so much time making so many of them. So if you'd like to pause your video and come back to me when you're ready to start with row 3, have your next color ready, and because we will be changing colors at the end of this row. So I am at the end of row 2, and I have started my last single crochet, but I haven't done my last yarn over yet. I have 2 loops remaining on my hook, and I'm about to do my last yarn over, but I want to change color to go into my next row. So I'm going to do my last yarn over in my new color. And so I've selected the Peninsula color for my next color. And so you'll see that I've done a slip knot and I'm putting that on my hook. You don't need to do that. I just find that it's a little more solid having that slip knot in there. This yarn is a little bit slippery, especially when you're working your foundation rows. So I do like to have that slip knot in there just to kind of help hold it in place and so it doesn't slip out on me. That's absolutely not necessary. You can just loop the yarn over your hook if that's your preferred way, but I just felt like I should explain why that's there. So anyways, I have my new color and I'm going to complete the yarn over for my last stitch with my new color, and so I'm just going to pull that through the last 2 stitches here. There we go. And now I'm going to drop that first color and I'm going to chain 3 with the new color. So 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to turn my work. Now, if you crochet over your ends here, that will help you not have to weave in so many at the end, but that's up to you. You don't have to do that. You can weave them all in at the end, but it does look better. But if you are strapped for time or you just don't want to do that, you can by all means crochet over your ends like I'm going to do here for our sample. So I've done my chain 3, and this does count as your first stitch here and throughout the rest of the pattern. So when a chain 3 counts as your first stitch, that means you're going to skip working into that first stitch from the previous row, and you're going to start working into that second stitch. So we're going to yarn over, and we're going to insert into that hook. We're going to insert into that stitch, and we're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. And we're going to double crochet as normal. There you go. And now we're going to do 2 more double crochets. And now we're going to single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. And now we're going to double crochet into the next 4 stitches. And so for this row, we're going to do the opposite that we were doing in the previous row. We're going to double crochet into the tops of every single crochet from the previous row. And we're going to single crochet into the tops of every double crochet from the previous row. And this is how we're going to get that offset wave pattern. And so I'm single crocheting into the next 4 here, which is the tops of those double crochets. And I'll lay this down so you can kind of see what's happening. And you can see here, we've now got that offset wave happening. I really like these colors together, this peninsula and mist. Might have to make this my next blanket after all. And so we're going to repeat this pattern of 4 single crochets followed by 4 double crochets across our row. And again, if you see a single crochet from the previous row, you're going to double crochet into the top of that. And again, if you see a double crochet, you're going to single crochet into the top of that. It's a really nice meditative stitch that doesn't require a lot of thought power, so it's great if you're watching TV. So if you'd like to pause your video and continue across your row doing your doubles and your singles, you should be ending your row in the same stitch you started, which is a double crochet. And when you're ready to start with row 3, I will walk you through that. So I am at the end of my row 3, and I'm ready to start with row 4, and I'm going to chain 3 and turn my work. And just like I did in the previous row, I'm going to start with 3 double crochets. And again, we want to make sure we're skipping that first stitch. Working into the second, we're going to double crochet and then double crochet into the next 2 stitches. So you should have 3 double crochets in your chain 3. Then we're going to single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. And this becomes our pattern. 4 single crochets followed by 4 double crochets across your row. So in this row, we're going to be, again, single crocheting into the tops of the single crochets and double crocheting into the tops of the double crochets. So again, you should be ending your row the same way you started it, with 4 double crochet stitches. When you get to the end of your row, leave your last stitch unworked, because we're going to be changing colors for the next row. So if you'd like to pause your video and come back to me when you're ready for row 5, I'll be here and waiting. So I'm at the end of my row 4, and I forgot to mention, when you are working your last stitch of the row, you're going to need to work into the top of that turning chain. So you're going to you do a double crochet just like you normally would, but instead of a normal stitch, you're working into that chain. So you're just going to work into the top of the chain and start your stitch, but you're going to leave the last 2 loops on it because we're going to be switching to our new color. So for me, this next color here is Tundra, and we're just going to finish the last yarn over of that stitch with the new color. We're dropping the old color, and we're going to chain up 1 with the new color, and we're going to turn our work. So now we have the wrong side of our fabric facing here, and we're going to single crochet into the first 4 stitches. So because that chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch, you're going to single crochet into that first stitch and then into the next 3 stitches. And now we're going to double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. Or a single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. And this becomes our pattern: 4 double crochets followed by 4 single crochets across our row. And just like we saw in the previous rows, we should be starting and ending our rows on the same stitch. So if you started with single crochets, you're going to end with single crochet stitches. Now I'm at the end of my row, and I'm going to work that last stitch into the top of the turning chain. And to start with row 6, I'm going to chain up 1 and turn my work. And we're going to repeat the instructions that we did for row 5. So we're going to single crochet into those first 4 stitches. And then we're going to double crochet into the next 4. And we're going to do 4 double crochets followed by, oops, the yarn fell off the desk. We're going to do 4 double crochets followed by 4 single crochets across our row. If you'd like to pause your video and come back to me when you are ready to start with row 7, we will be changing colors at the end of this row. So I will meet you here when I'm finishing off round 6 to change colors for row 7. All right, so I am at the end of row 6, and I'm getting ready to join my last color. And again, I just used that last yarn over of the previous stitch, or of this stitch, I should say. Now we're going to chain up 3 and turn our work. And now we're going to repeat the instructions that were given to us for rows 3 and 4. So that means we're going to skip the first stitch and double crochet into the second, and then double crochet into the next 2 stitches. Sorry, the tails are getting a bit of the way, but I apologize because I want to use this yarn to actually make this blanket bigger afterwards, so I don't want to cut it quite yet. So we will now be single crocheting into the next 4 stitches. And then we'll double crochet into the next 4 stitches. And that's our pattern across this row. We're going to single crochet in the next 4 stitches, followed by double crochet in the next 4 stitches. And just one last reminder that if you start the row on double crochets, you're going to end the row on double crochets. So if you'd like to pause your video and come back to me when you are ready to start with row 8, I will be here to show you what to do for that. All right, so we are ready to move on to row 8. And for row 8, we're just going to repeat the instructions that we did for row 7, which is you're going to do your 4 double crochets followed by 4 single crochets. But I had to take a moment to just lay this down and show you what your swatch or your blanket should look like right now, where you've got these really pretty offset waves. And I really like this blanket as a scrap blanket as well, because you can just use a whole bunch of different colors and it looks great. So in case you're wanting me to demonstrate row 7 again, so you know what to do for row 8, we're going to chain up 3 and turn our work. And then again, we're just going to double crochet into the next 3 stitches and single crochet into the next 4. Again, our repeat is 4 single crochets followed by 4 double crochets until the end of our row. If you'd like to pause your video and come back to me when you are ready to receive the next instructions, I'll be waiting for you here. So I am ready to start with rows 9 and 10, and I've changed it to my first color, and I'm going to yarn over and chain up 1. So we do have a 4-color repeat in this pattern. It's going to go color A, color B, color C, color D, and then we're going to return to color A again. So I'm going to turn my work, and we're going to repeat the instructions we did for rows 5 and 6, which is that single crochet in the first 4 stitches, followed by double crochet into the next 4 stitches. And now that is how we're going to do the rest of this row. We're going to double crochet in the first 4, then single crochet into the next 4, and we're going to repeat these instructions for row 10 as well. Now, for the remainder of the blanket, we are going to continue to repeat rows 3 and 4 and rows 5 and 6. So because we're doing a repeat of rows 5 and 6 right now, which is starting with single crochet and then doing your doubles, the next row would be starting with double crochets. So after you do 2 rows that start with single crochet, you're going to follow that up with 2 rows that start with double crochet. And that's how you're going to continue with that alternating wave pattern. You're going to repeat this for 122 rows. So you should be ending on the color A. So from now through rows 120, you're going to do this pattern here, the A, B, C, and D pattern, and then you're going to do one last row of color A, so that way your blanket starts and finishes on the same color. So that's how you make the Wander Often a baby blanket. And if you're interested in seeing the written pattern, it is available on my blog. And if you'd like to use the same yarn and hooks that I'm using, you can get those at furlscrochet.com. And if you check the description box below, I do have a discount code exclusively for my followers where you can get 15% off your purchase, qualifying purchases at Furls Crochet. So if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and please consider subscribing to this channel. If you enjoy free crochet patterns, please check out my blog, theloopylamb.com. Thanks so much for watching, friends. Happy hooking, and I'll see you next time.